Yeah, I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been hiding a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat. Yo, grew my hair and took the grill out. Think it's time to put it back in. Trying to get into that big house, turn the crib into the mansion. Needed something with that big bounce. You know I had to hit Jackson. Aaron Rodgers with the quick routes. I'm with the gang, we packing. We on the field at Lambo. Might peel in a Lambo. Running drills in my camo. They know what the M stand for. Still got fam in Hawaii, yeah. Couple fans in the lobby, yeah. Couple grand in my pocket, yeah. Couple grams of wasabi, yeah. Eye it up, no glasses. Light it up, no matches. Wife it up, no ratchets. Might turn my wife to an actress. And we gon' make a movie, no Kim K. Give a fuck about what your friends say. I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been hiding a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat.
I'm just sticking to the code, I keep it so G. She asked me what I smoke, I'm smoking OG. I don't fool with too many, only catch me 4 deep. Gotta stay away from snakes, swear these people so creep. I've been grinding for a minute, many labels so asleep. These rappers drop a song, be hot for about a week. I put Gucci on my toes, I keep some cold feet. I ain't paying for no hoes, you niggas know me. I'm about to body the beat. I keep me a hottie with me. She wanna for a fee. Give me that for free. Keep me some money on me. Smoking the gas key. You with me, sheesh. Bonito, cheap, Keith.
I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been hiding a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat.
Hop in the car, watch it go vroom, vroom. I told her mom that I bust soon. Knew as a child, back in the womb. Oh, told her step back, I need my room. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom. I'm in a whip, so I gotta zoom. They tryna talk, they not in the room. I been so real, I'm dead to the tomb. They in the way, they gotta move. I got a gas, they running on fumes. Told them way back, it's something new. It's me and damn, you gotta choose. I'm taking what's mine, I'm doing fine. Don't see the vision, they looking so blind. I hit my low, I don't got the time. Crossing my T's and he dotting those eyes. Don't take offense if I do not oblige. I can't relate, but like none of these guys. They hit me once and I'm cutting the ties. I was so low, but I'm back on the rise, it's real. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom, vroom. I told her mom that I was soon. Knew as a child, back in the womb. Oh, told her step back, I need my room. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom. I'm hopping now I gotta go. I'm looking back, they not even close. I had a 4, now I need a ghost. I got a wave like I'm on the coast. Same ones are down and I dare the show. So way that I'm ballin', they think I'm a pro. I'm getting sick by the money I gross. They saying whoa, I told them all what this is. I told them all I don't miss. Said it's my time, look at this shit on my wrist. And when they shooting this breaks, I'm going in a new gig, gotta shift. I cannot stick to the script, I cannot wait. Watch how I get it and flip. It's just how I'm doing this shit that I'm going. Just how I'm doing this shit that I'm going. Ayy, just how I'm doing this shit that I'm going.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide.
ever see me coming, I'ma land mine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like, yeah, you about to see me on demand like, you know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go. On the road, here we go, here we go.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Frank Candles live stream every single weekday right here at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Mafia, Bitcoin finally getting a little bit of a move to the upside here, sitting at about $113,793. What is the next move, guys? Are we creeping up to the $115,000 key level of resistance? And when we get up there, if we get up there, are we going to get that big dump? Are we going to be able to break into that volume profile and get some higher prices on Bitcoin? We're going to cover everything on tonight's live stream. I'll give you guys the key levels, what I'm expecting next year on Bitcoin, the probabilities of getting that push up to 115K, and a very, very key level of support that I will be looking at that we really want to stay on top of if we're not going to see another drop to the downside. So thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you guys for hanging out with us here on the Frank Candles live stream. Shout out to Clifton in the chat. We got Crypto, Billy, Darren, Does Things, Rob the Crypto Snob, all the mods, guys. Show the mods some love in the chat if you love them as much as we do. We got Jesse in the chat. What is going on, guys? And yes, prayers out to Charlie Kirk and his family. Absolutely insane news. I think coming out of Wisconsin, absolutely insane. Regardless of what side of the political fence you fall on, guys, nobody deserves to have that happen to them. Insane. That had me shook. That is absolutely crazy. And again, this has nothing to do with the political view, guys. Nobody deserves that. Crazy world that we live in. We need more peace. We need more love. We need more good vibes. You guys know I like to keep the vibes, high on this channel, but it is crazy to see that news come out. I mean, man, if you disagree with somebody and you know it bothers you that much to do something like that, and we don't know the full story there, but that is absolutely insane. Be nice to people, guys. Be positive. Lift other people up. Do not live a miserable life of hate. It is not worth it. We need more love in this world. Absolutely insane. So I'm not going to talk too much about that, but I don't know what the final news. Last I heard, he was in the hospital, but definitely does not look good. So prayers out to him and his family. Again, whatever side you fall on. You guys know I'm pretty much politically neutral, but it is crazy. It does not matter what side that is happening on. Nobody deserves that ever. Absolutely insane. So yeah, be nice to your neighbors, guys. But anyway, with all that being said, shout out to AR Perez. We got Nick Dunn in the chat. We got Mustafa in the chat. Said, "Hey yo, one love from Nigeria." Hey, shout out to Mustafa tuning in from quite far away. Shout out to you, man. We appreciate you for tuning in. We got Genzi in the chat. Said, "Send it to zero. Send it to zero." Well, hopefully not. Shout out to Genzi. We're gonna take a look at that. But without further ado, guys, we got a lot to look at here on the charts as Bitcoin finally gets a little bit of a move here. So let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Let's get into it. All right, guys, here we are. I got a little bit of new Aztecian Cactus Moss Water. We got Georgie Aztecian Moss Water here. I'm going to give it this a little taste test here. Hopefully this tastes good. If it tastes bad, guys, we might be going to zero. Wow, actually tastes pretty good. It is super healthy, so I don't know how much this is going to help my energy. It's like it's got B6, B12, biotin, L-theanine, zero sugar, 150 milligrams of green tea and caffeine. So that's probably going to help me out the most here. But anyway, let's continue on here, guys. All right, so what do we got going on? Obviously, Bitcoin getting the pop out of our volume profile here, guys. Now, as you know, if you watch the show, you will remember, if you guys have tuned in on the last, 200 live streams, we've been looking at the same levels here, $115,000, that next big level of resistance here. I'm going to take a little bit of a higher time frame look at this as well, guys, because as you know, right, there's a ton of confluence in this zone. I'll cover this a little bit more in detail, but this is going to be that first big level that we do not want to get stuck underneath, guys. Like, if we come up to this is not only a confluent level of support, or resistance, but if we can't get above here and flip this to support, guys, we may still be able to see a much bigger drop down on Bitcoin. Obviously, been looking at things such as the daily money flow continuing to the downside here, as you can see. Still just kind of sitting here in the red. VWAP pretty overextended, in my opinion, so whether we get up to 115K or not, we'll cover that in a minute. But finally marching up towards that big key level. And, over the past few live streams, I've been talking about how I am either really, as far as the trades go, sitting on my hands and waiting for that bigger 115 to, or I should say 114.5 to about 115.5 level for our next major short position. But before we got up to 114.5, guys, we had this very, very key level of this anchored VWAP coming in at about 113.300. And that was going to be the first thing, right? Because we hit our head. This is kind of that first level to get above in order to flip this into support, which could assist us into that move towards 115K. And I know this move up seems exciting, right? And hopefully it is, right? We are still holding that long position over on FEMEX here. Same position I've been holding for quite some time now, up almost $3,000. So, finally starting to get this to move a little bit. But, we are still coming up to major resistance, but very nice to see the flip of this anchored VWAP. And to be quite honest, guys, this is kind of the level that we want to remain above. Now, it does not mean you can't play around with this level a little bit. But for the most part, right, we have broken above this resistance. Not only is it the anchored VWAP, but this is also obviously where we have gotten resistance in the past, right? We got the hit our head here, right? And then on the second approach here, it was confluent with our anchored VWAP, and then it was also confluent with the anchored VWAP right here. So, this is, major resistance here, right? We have, multiple rejections, the anchored VWAP, but we are now attempting to flip this level of resistance to support, which is what we want to see, to potentially see that bigger push up towards 115K. And hey, if we're able to flip that 115K level, we can start to look at the idea of coming up to 118, where we know we have all that liquidity sitting, and then potentially above into that value area high where we also have a lot of liquidity sitting. And as we covered last night, guys, this golden pocket and 786 for Fibonacci retracement on the point of control of the range and the value area high of the range are going to be very, very big levels to look at. But as far as confluence goes, I would still say 114.5 to 115.5 is the strongest, right? Meaning there is the most level of confluence in this level, right? We have a daily MPOC, the value area low, we have a weekly MPOC, we have a monthly MPOC, and then just above that, we have the monthly horizontal level, right? So you got like 5 levels of confluence in there. So this is, in my opinion, the biggest resistance above us, right? But the nice thing is if we flip that to support, well, hey, maybe we can flip that to support. We'll have all that support underneath us, and then we can start to look up towards these higher targets. So that's kind of, that's the update, really, to be quite honest, guys. We've gotten above that anchor VWAP. It's very nice. We looked at that yesterday. And also, if I extend this volume profile real quick all the way to our current profile, or all the way to our current price action, you guys can see this was kind of one of those other levels we've been looking at. We hit our head, we hit our head, we hit our head, we hit our head, and we are now attempting to stay inside this volume profile. And if we look at this from a simple standpoint, right, without all the other confluent levels, I'll just pull it up over here. Actually, I'll keep this on the chart. I'll just come down to a lower time frame. Bada boom. And if we pull this range, right, am I on the, this is the Bitstamp chart. Let me pull up Bybit real quick. Where we at? Bada boom. Right, we'll pull this all the way to here, right? So it is, again, if you're looking at this as your full volume profile, right, which is definitely a valid way to look at price, right? This is a balanced area of price. This is the deviation below, right? This is kind of an intermediary kind of like first level of resistance that is nice to break above. And again, that was obviously confluent with the anchored VWAP. So these are some of the levels we were looking at yesterday saying like, hey, like maybe a super low time frame sign of potential strength here, just to show you guys kind of the context there, right? So if we are able to stay above this anchored VWAP and, preferably these highs here, this would be very nice because this would kind of look like, and I'm going to talk about what happens if we lose this, right? But we're able to stay above this level, even if you have to come down and retest the value area low potentially. I wouldn't want to do this, to be quite honest. But, as long as we could stay in here, it does still keep that doorway open to come up to that $115,000 level. A lot of people, someone asked me last night, actually, on the live stream, like, hey, Frankie, like, when do you look at the previous volume profile? Why don't you look at the current ones? And the answer to the question is I do look at the current ones, but I typically just kind of update it, and I kind of get this context. I'm like, okay, cool. So the full value area low is right here. That's nice. But, it doesn't mean you don't want to pay attention to this previous volume profile, right? So yeah, nice to be above these levels, guys. We really want to stay above these highs. If we are unable to hold above these highs, guys, I do think it could indicate that we're going to get a bigger drop to the downside. And the reason why I am going to be looking out for that to potentially be the case is because if we look at the daily time frame, right, the money flow is crossed over into the red, which is obviously going to indicate a potentially or a potential continuation of that overall downtrend, even on these pops to the upside. We've compared this to previous price action back when we, back from this range over here. We covered it, right? You had nice bounce here. You even had a daily bullish divergence here, but still that money flow coming out was indicating lower highs and lower lows. So we still have to be careful of that, right? And Bitcoin does typically find a bottom in September. The question is that bottom in here at our massive level of support, or do we have to come down and make one more low? And that's going to be something we have to approach as price action develops. I would say personally, if we lose these highs here, sitting at about $113,432, you could look at this either as just structural highs. You also have the anchored VWAP in there. You also have the value area low in there. So just generally, guys, we want to stay above these levels, right? Because if we don't stay above these levels, one thing that we were looking at in the premium Discord for a potential short opportunity was to come up here and take out Friday's high, right? And one thing that we were looking at here was a potential SFP, one of the confirmations, right? Which is typically a wick above a closure of that candle down below, which would indicate a fake out of the highs for another drop to the downside. Now, we don't always get those swing failure patterns. Another way that this can potentially play out, we talk about this a lot, right? Instead of an SFP, sometimes you can get a failed auction, right? Which is essentially like an elongated SFP, which simply put is just a failure to trade above a certain price, right? Oftentimes with the SFP, or not oftentimes, but for an SFP, you have to get that one candle wick above, right? Closure down below. That gives you the SFP confirmation. But sometimes what you can do here is you could kind of bing bong around before finally losing that level of support, and then that is kind of confirming your failed auction, right? Which would essentially just be an elongated SFP. This is almost exactly what we saw here at the all-time high. We were looking for the exact same things in the premium Discord for potential short positions up here. Be careful of that swing failure pattern. And typically when I look for SFPs, guys, I am looking at time frames like the 30-minute or the 1 hour. You can see we did not get that SFP on the 1 hour. We actually did, right? You got a little SFP here, but it didn't play out. You push above, you kind of hang out above here. But at that point, right, we had these key levels that we were looking at for a potential failed auction. And this daily MPOC and this, honestly, the SFP wick up here at about 123,261 were those two levels, right? So, in the premium Discord, when we looked at this, it was like, hey, guys, it's nice that we are, getting this move up. However, if we're not, and we didn't get the SFP, at least on the lower time frames, but like I said, the SFPs don't always happen on the lower time frames. Sometimes you can get a higher time frame swing failure pattern on something like the daily or even a weekly time frame, and you can see you did get that SFP on the daily, but it's kind of hard to call there on the daily time frame, right? I don't typically enter my SFPs on the daily, but the way you can identify that on a lower time frame is to look for that failed auction, which would end up in a higher time frame SFP, but on a lower time frame, it kind of just looks like, hey, we're trying to trade up here. You can't do it. And then this SFP level is the first level that, if lost, could indicate that failed auction, right? And we were looking at this as a zone between the SFP wick and the daily MPOC. This is how we were able to short the all-time high, right? Once we lost that level, we're saying, well, hey, there's the failure to trade above. That's a failed auction. Let's go ahead and short this sucker down. And we rode that. I personally rode this down all the way to 111K. Maybe some other people held it a little lower, but we were able to enjoy that entire drop to the downside here towards about $107,000. Again, full transparency, I closed mine at about 111K, where we were flipping long, which is the position that I just showed you guys. So it's a very similar situation, just to kind of explain those failed auction setups. So it's very similar here, except, just on a different spot on the chart and a little bit of a different time frame, right? I wouldn't even say it's much different time frame wise. But, the failed auction, in my opinion, right, we have multiple wicks here, right? We have this wick. We also have this wick, right? So it's like, are you looking for the SFP of, what exact wick are we looking at SFP? I would kind of look at this as a zone, very similar to at that all-time high. We have the anchored VWAP, we have the SFP wick, anchored VWAP, we have the daily MPOC, and we also had that SFP wick, right? So this zone really does sit, if we look at all these wicks, really between 113,250 all the way up to about 113,4. So I would say, right, if we wind up losing this level, this could indicate, and it's not a guarantee, right? Potentially you could come back down, right, and then reclaim, but that would be looked at as a potential sign of weakness, in my own personal opinion, right? Get stuck under here, hit your head, right? Well, that could confirm that failed auction for another drop to the downside. Now, is Market Cipher B pointing towards this? Well, let's take a look, right? We do have a potential higher high on our price action here on the 4-hour time frame. There's your higher high. Potential bear div looking to print here, right? Not the strongest bearish divergence, but VWAP is coming down. So we do have some of these medium time frame red dots. You also have the 3-hour bear div as well with the red dot incoming. You can see this VWAP coming down. Once this VWAP crosses over into the 0 line, we will very likely print, or not very likely, we will print that red dot confirming that bearish divergence. So when you see this stuff, right, I'm just looking at the chart and I'm saying like, well, hey, are we going to explode up from here? I wouldn't say it's impossible. And I would say right now, it's not a failed auction just yet, right? Like it's like, this is the key level of support. And again, I'll pull up that anchored VWAP one more time. Where's it at? There it is, right? So like you break above it, and hey, right now it is looking like a resistance flipped into support, right? But sometimes failed auctions can look like that until you lose the level, right? So if we lose this level, I will be looking for another drop to the downside, and then if we pull up our local range, actually have this marked out on a, let me just delete this stuff, right? So I actually have this marked out right here, right? So once you start losing these levels, right, it would indicate somewhat of a sign of weakness, because once you start losing this, right, not only are you getting the potential failed auction, but you're also getting the red dot printing on the 3-hour, the red dot printing on the 4-hour, right? And then if we see the 15-minute and the 12-minute money flow start to come out into the red, that could be an indication that we're going to get a drop to the downside. So this is definitely the biggest local level of support. You want to stay above that anchored VWAP. You want to stay above these structural highs in order to get that bigger move up towards about 115K. Now, and again, combining that with the 4-hour red dot, the potential bearish divergences printing, etc. You also have the daily money flow coming out. So again, I would still say the biggest level of resistance is sitting at 115K. And hey, we're holding our long position. If it continues up there, that continues to pay us out very, very nice. But I just want to show the importance here on this anchored VWAP. This is directly coming in at about $113,226. And then if you look at the zone of all these highs put together, the zone really sits between about 113,226 all the way up to about 113,447. So you really want to stay above this zone, guys. Whoops. Oh, there we go. Long cracked into the 3Ks. There we go. Not too shabby. But the you really want to hold above this level. And then if we can push up here, we'll have to reassess that situation. To be quite honest, like this is obviously the much bigger level of resistance. So we'll see what happens. These monthly MPOCs can also act as a magnet for price. So yeah, just a waiting game here, guys. We'll see if we can hold this support. And then if we do get the drop to the downside, just understand, right, we do have this volume profile down below. That could give us an idea of what we're looking for, right? Maybe you get the failed auction, right? If you get accepted back into this volume profile, well, hey, we have those nice, beautiful volume profile levels to look at on the way back to the downside, right? Looking for that value area high to get lost. Can't break back out. At that point, you could be getting accepted back into your volume profile, and then you can look for the rotation at least down to the POC, and then if you lose that POC, you could eventually look down towards that value area low. So that's what I'm looking at. Holding the long position, watching that daily money flow crossing into the red, and again, the 2-day also, not looking the best here as far as money flow. And the question is, right, obviously, bottoms oftentimes come in September. Is the bottom in here on our macro level of support, or are we going to be looking to make that new low? And if we do make the new low, guys, my plan remains exactly the same, right? If we do have to come back down here, which hopefully we don't have to, right? I want price to go up more than just as much as the next guy. Hopefully we can see the more bullish case play out, but we got to see this money flow start to change up on the daily, the 2-day, etc. If we do get another drop down below this level, right? Let's say we do get the failed auction here. We get stuck under these levels. We start pushing down, and we have to take out this low again. My sentiment remains exactly the same, right? Because if we come down to sweep these lows, I mean, to be honest, I'm probably going to lock in some profits on this long because we've now had it play out a little bit more. I want to protect myself against this position. I think if we were going to come down and take these lows, we would have already done it. But if we do come back down, we could still look for the sweep of liquidity below 107K, which could in turn give us that daily bullish divergence that we've been looking at, right? Which could give us, right, this momentum wave. We got a nice big old momentum wave here. This anchored this VWAP has been above the 0 line for about 10 days now. So, eventually when that rolls over, right, maybe we can get that momentum wave to come down, give us a higher low, and then you could have that daily bullish divergence. This is just a scenario we could see play out. If we don't get the confirmations down here, well, I'll probably take profit up here. So at that point, I'll get stopped out in profit on the short position, and then we can look back down towards the $105,000, $104,000, 786 Fibonacci retracement. But right now, guys, I mean, we're still holding above key support, and we got the pop to the upside, so we got a little update here on the local time frames. Hold that $226 level. We could look good for 115K. But other than that, my long-term sentiment, nothing really changes here, right? We're just a little bit closer, right, towards that big level we've been talking about for quite some time. So are we going to see 115K? I think that is likely going to be the next stop if we do not get the failed auction here. If we get the failed auction, daily red dot prints, right? Maybe we go down and put in that bullish divergence here on the daily. So I'm going to come into chat real quick. I'll cover some other things here before we move on to the altcoins, but I'm going to jump on into chat here. Let's see here. Bada boom, bada bing. Yo, shout out to Golden. Thank you for the super chat, bro. Let's go. Big boy super chat. Let's get it. Big boy super chat from Golden. Let's go. He says, so tense. Says 15 shots deep. Bitcoin for life, baby. Frankie changed my life. Listen to the man. Shout out to Golden. Let's go, baby. I appreciate you for the super chat. And Golden must be up on a long or something. Let's go. Shout out to Golden, bro. Thank you so much. I am eternally grateful for you, brother. Show Golden some love in the chat. Drop that golden emoji in the chat if you have a membership. Welcome in, Golden. Always happy to have you in here. And I have a feeling he's got his feet kicked up on that PJ, baby. Let's go. Let's take a look here. Shout out to Hugo said, I thought Golden was drunk. Well, I don't know. He didn't specify the shots. 15 shots deep. What else can that mean? I don't know. He's some kind of shots deep. 15 shots deep. I would assume maybe a very, 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 very rare, expensive private jet whiskey that we don't know about. Only the elite know about it. Shout out to Golden. Let's go. Great show as usual. Shout out to Steven Sansbury. Welcome in. Welcome in, bro. Happy to have you here. He's at the range. Shout out to Hugo. So yeah, he's at the range. Hitting the bullseyes, baby. Sun and Beach. Shout out to Golden. Is that the name of the shots, or is that where you're at? Laying on the beach somewhere. Both are equally probable. Panda the Prophet said it means he's drunk. It's tequila. Let's go. Shout out to Erica. I'm not a tequila guy. I'm not going to lie, guys. Tequila makes me gag. I don't know why. I am a gin guy, though, which is always funny when I tell people I like gin but not whiskey or tequila. They're like, dude, what? How do you like? Nobody likes gin. I don't know. G&T's for the win, baby. Oh, French Riviera. Shout out to Golden, bro. If Golden didn't always have proof, a lot of the stuff he says is like unrealistic, but we've shown the videos. He sends us videos of him literally watching the live stream on a private jet. Golden is the real deal, guys. There's not a lot of people out there like Golden, I don't think. Let's see. Pangu, yeah, we could try to take a look at Pangu. Toshi, we could try to take a look at Toshi. I took a nap this afternoon, and let me tell you, I needed it. Probably the best nap I've ever had. Definitely better than all the car naps. Shout out to Wick589. Man, car naps are brutal. You're always like sleeping in a weird position. Shout out to Wick589. Welcome in, OG of the CandleMafia. I love me my vodka. Shout out to Jency. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on here. To be honest, guys, like this is the update, right? We're creeping up towards that 115K level. I mean, wake me up when we get here, or when we lose this key level. So locally, if you guys are on the charts here looking for day trades or anything like that, it's not a signal, it's not a trade setup, but just know if we lose this level and we get stuck underneath that, it could be a sign of weakness for a potential pullback to come in. Until then, holding above the anchored VWAP, I would look at this right now. I mean, you can only look at this in one way. It's a resistance level that we've rejected from, and we are now potentially flipping it to support, which would be nice to see that move into 115K. The only thing that makes me a little worried about that is the 4-hour red dot incoming. Right, money flow is still looking healthy, right? So if we do get the drop down there, right, it could mean, when I talk about the drop out of here, right, it's not like a major sign of weakness. It would just indicate a push to the downside, right? With this 4-hour money flow coming up, maybe we could put in another higher low. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, but this is definitely going to be the biggest level to hold above 113.4 to 113.250. So, yeah, we'll see what happens, and I'll keep the Discord updated on any trades that I might take up here. But until then, right, 115K or 107K are going to be the next big levels. Maybe if we can come back down into this local range tomorrow, we can find some local key levels to look at for some potential bounces. But, at that point, right, if you start losing this, start to get the failed auction, you get accepted into this range, you got the bearish divergences above the value area high, which is looked at as an expensive price for the asset, indicating that you could rotate to the fair value, more specifically the fairest value within the profile, which is going to be at that POC of the range. And once you lose that, looking down to the value area low, where we also do have some daily horizontal confluence, right? So I would still say from a local standpoint here, if we don't hit 115K for another long position, right, the first place that I would be even a little bit interested would have to be at that value area low, unless we could find a setup on some new price action that develops on the POC or something like that, right, where, deviating above the volume profile, same thing here, right? You break out, right? But if you can't sustain that breakout, you're probably going to rotate back down to the range, right? So I'll just be playing this as a local range until we hit the bigger levels of resistance or the bigger levels where I'm interested in taking long positions. So there you go. Quick little update on Bitcoin. Very nice to see that move to the upside. Very nice to see the long position, above $1,700 finally. So that's not too bad. But I am going to take a look at Ethereum. I will take a look at some of the altcoins as well. Quick reminder, guys, please do not super chat your altcoins. Just drop them in the free chat. The requests are free. And the super chat does not increase the likelihood that we will look at it, unfortunately. Yeah, I just don't want people wasting their money. It's not fair. It's not fair for people spending their money. It's not fair for the people who are, sitting here for the big coins, and we wind up looking at a $100,000 market cap altcoin that no one really cares about. So yeah, just drop them in the the free chat. Yeah, shout out to NW Crypto Miser says, start losing it from here. Might consider the bull market over. So I'll cover this briefly, guys. I do think it is still a little bit premature to be calling for the bear market, but I love the vigilance here, right? Because it is very important. When we have the daily and the 2-day money flow coming out, right? Like if we can't really get above these levels, right, and we put in lower highs here, it would start to look a little bit dangerous for me, right? Because if we reject and put in a lower high here, especially if you reject this golden pocket, right, it does open up the door to crack these lows. And unless it ends in some kind of aggressive SFP for a massive move to the upside, it is going to look pretty bearish in my own personal opinion, right? Like lower high, lower low. At that point, regardless of where this comes in at, I would say even at the 786, we could still have a potential thought process that a lower high could come in here. But if we put in that lower low, right, we're losing that golden pocket. If you're expecting to break this low, you are praying that it is a quick sweep of liquidity for that daily bull div to print before another massive move up. Because if we get stuck under this golden pocket, guys, as I've said many a times, massive sign of weakness for Bitcoin. And I think that would put it would increase the probability that maybe the high is in here at 125K. And again, this is not my base case. As long as we remain above that golden pocket, right, my base case is, we're holding key support. The bull market support band, macro anchor VWAP, golden pocket, daily MPOCs, previous macro value area high, massive level to hold. But until we break that, right, I can't really say that oh my God, the top is in, right? But if we start putting in lower highs and lower lows, well, then it starts to get a little bit dangerous unless we get that quick SFP with the daily bull div and a massive rip to the upside. We do have, right, and again, another reason why my base case is not that just the top is in automatically here, and I'm not saying, I forgot who said it, not that I'm saying you're saying the top is in, but you definitely have to be aware of that. 100%, I would agree with you. Definitely, especially here, right? You just don't want to get stuck up in here and get another drop down. This would be very bearish in my opinion, especially with the daily money flow coming out, especially with the 2-day money flow coming out, right? We come back here and take a look at 2021, right? A 2-day money flow crossover was yikes, right? It was kind of the start of the massive drop to the downside. And then the weekly money flow crossover, which happened right here, was really the start of the massive bear market. But that 2-day and even the daily money flow can indicate potential warning signs of that coming in. But I would still say the higher probability, as long as we hold on top of this key level of support, is that we do see that final parabola come in. Right? You have a lot of resistance here, but if we can get up here and see that final parabola, have all the retail come in at the top, right? I say this almost every single day. Everyone's massively bullish. Oh my God, we're breaking out into all-time highs. The bull market is just starting. And as I always do, guys, I'll zoom out and tell you this bull market is not just starting. This bull market has been going on for quite some time. Sure, the altcoins will be very exciting. It's going to be a very, 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 very exciting point in the market. This is what everybody comes for. But do not miss. Don't fall for the trap of this is the golden bull market. It's never going down. I will never fall into that camp. I promise you, unless there's a legitimate reason for that. But I would say with the rate cuts, we have FOMC, I guess, in like 6 days or something like that. 7 days. We have FOMC, so this could be that catalyst that finally pushes us up. We'll probably cover the FOMC on a live stream. Those are always fun to do when we listen to Jerome Powell. Good afternoon, and then the candles start going wild. So we will cover that, but maybe that's the catalyst. We have the rate cuts coming in. Checking in on the RTY. We haven't looked at this in a couple of days, right? The RTY is still, looking okay up here. If we can get this to break out, would be a very, very nice sign. We also have gold coming up to major, major key levels of resistance. We took a look at this yesterday, talking about the potential weekly bearish divergence that may form here. It would be very nice to see some weakness here on gold start to get a correction. Not that it has to go to zero or anything like that, but this could also assist, right? So we have gold at key levels of resistance. We have the RTY breaking out. We have, we have Ethereum tapping on the doorway to all-time highs. This is like another thing when, people start to get worried about their altcoins. It's like, I don't know. It's just like the chances of this, and again, the chances are definitely not zero, but like the chances of this being the all-time high for Ethereum for this entire cycle is just so low probability, in my opinion. I am still going to be looking up towards $5,800 all the way up to $6,500 to take out that $5,000 level and potentially push this thing into all-time highs as well, which would be very good for all of the altcoins, most of the altcoins, I should say. So just very nice to see. Even Solana showing the strength here, pushing into that point of control, tapping the top of this golden pocket that we looked at yesterday. That was the next target to the upside. We're continuing up there. So, I just don't think, right, like especially with the fresh weekly money flow crossover into the green, it just doesn't really look like it's going to be a I just say like even on corrections, right? Like the bigger breakout here is just going to be much more likely, in my own personal opinion, by looking at the charts, understanding the macroeconomics, the rate cuts, all that good stuff. But just understand, if they cut the rates and this winds up pumping everything, a lot of people, right, especially when the retail comes in, they're gonna think it's the beginning of the bull market. And I want to keep the mafia on the right side of these trades. At least for Bitcoin, I think if we break out, it's going to be that final explosion to the upside, that blow off top that we see, which typically happens at the end of the cycle, and then the altcoins kind of rally, all that good stuff. You get the capital allocation from Bitcoin into the high caps, which is potentially already starting with ETH getting the big move up, Solana starting to move. And then that will trickle down to the mid caps, the low caps, the micro caps, and then the absolute garbage, dumpster diving meme coins are going to be the last things to go. So just to have you guys a little bit prepared long term for that. So that is kind of my base case here. As long as we're able to stay above that $108,000 to $107,000 level, which right now does look pretty decent, at least as of right now. But you do have to understand the money flow coming out. You have to be careful around these key levels of resistance. So there we go. Let's see. Shout out to Golden. Thank you for the super chat, bro. Golden going wild. Oh, wait, hang on. I missed another one too. Golden says, just smash the like. It costs nothing for you to do and helps the channel out so much. If you're too lazy to smash the likes, you're too lazy to make a profit listening to Frankie. He changed my life. Flying PJ now because of Frankie. Yo, shout out to Golden, baby. Let's go. If you guys are new here, Golden is he is not just talking trash. He is he's literally flying on private jets. That is a confirmed fact. I can tell you that with 100% certainty. Shout out to Golden. Thank you for the super chat, bro. Again, says the bull market was silently here when trading was happening on the weekends. Hint, hint. Shout out to Golden. Golden, I think Golden might know something we don't know. Golden, where are we going? All-time highs. Let us know. Golden, hey, what? Maybe just dump a bunch. Maybe just buy. Tell us right before you buy and send this thing to the dang moon. Shout out to Golden, bro. Let's see. Let's throw a PJ party. Shout out to Daniel. We have to get like a jumbo jet to get the mafia in there. But that would be lit. Imagine us live streaming from a PJ. That would be crazy. Yeah, R.I.P. Charlie Kirk. I know, guys. That's insane. And I know it's like it's crazy. It popped up. I got the notification or whatever. I checked social media, and it was just like, oh, my God, the war in the comments. It's like, can you guys not put your personal views aside and just understand that killing somebody is wrong regardless of where you fall? Like, in my opinion, right, and I don't know if you disagree with this opinion, I guess, it's different if someone, like, attacks your family and, something goes down. That's different, right? But, like, killing someone for disagreeing with your views is absolute garbage scumbag behavior regardless of what side it's on. That's just absolutely insane. It's such a dark world out there. So, do your small part and be friendly. That's why we love the Mafia, right? We're a positive, friendly community. And we're from all over the world, and I'm sure of all different viewpoints. It's just, it's absolutely insane. Sad to see, right? Like, he had a family and all that stuff. Absolutely crazy. Shout out to Golden, said I could book a 737 with Starlink. Yo, Golden, bro, that's crazy. Like a jumbo jet, private jet is crazy work. Let's see. Bitfrog says I agree. Yeah, I mean, if you disagree with killing like generally innocent people, that's I don't know. That's a broken human being in my opinion. Let's see. AVAX, if you don't mind, Frankie, appreciate you. Shout out to Lasers. Yeah, we'll try to take a look at AVAX. Took a look at Ethereum. As far as updates here, TA-wise, right? Like, I know it's exciting, right? We got a little pop-up on Bitcoin. Ethereum just still chopping around here, guys. I don't really want to spend a lot of time on this. I'll show the bigger chart here real quick. So, we're just still within our range here, right? And if you've been in this market enough, right, you will know, like, even when Bitcoin breaks into all-time highs, like, super exciting. But if you're not aware of, like, the potential fake outs, number one, you can't capitalize them and make money like we do in the premium Discord. But, you're also just, like, setting up for, like, praying for breakouts on hopium, not legitimate reasons. So you do just want to be aware, right? Like, still just stuck in here. Like, we're basically chopping sideways. Nice to see. At least this feels like a lot of volatility because we haven't seen any movements lately. But as far as Ethereum, my volume profile remains exactly the same. 45.34 value area high. That is the key level to break and hold before potentially seeing the bigger move up towards all-time highs again. Until then, right, if we stay inside this range, doorway to the POC is still open. We could bounce off the POC, sure. We've already gotten acceptance into the range right here. Bounce off the POC for the new all-time high. POC sits at 4,084, still the next key level of support down below. If we lose that, I am looking down towards the value area low / monthly MPOC, sitting between 39.34 and 38.73. That is the biggest level of support locally, right? POC next. And then this would be the biggest level, right? Because, me personally, it's not that you can't look for longs off the POC, obviously. We do take longs off the POC sometimes. Didn't take this long. That's transparency. But, for me personally, I do generally like to see that, it's just the reason the longs are better down here is just because it shows that, like, you are dipping into that, like, oversold territory. So, like, not only the chances of a bounce are better here, but at least the chance, even if you don't get it to play out in full, right, the chance of getting your long position to at least get you into profit so you can take some money off the table and potentially lock in your stop loss at break even, right? Like, the chances of getting a move up here are much better in my opinion, right? If you bounce off the POC and you're already expecting that magnetic value area low to suck you down, why would you even want to take a long there? Unless you had a specific reason, which sometimes you do. But just generally, right, coming down to that oversold area is going to be the better place to look for long positions, in my opinion, not financial advice. Now, if we break down below this range, next key level, 36 to 35.23. That is really where it's like, hey, we really want to start getting going here, right? Like, I would even be okay. I know this would look very scary. It would be very, sentiment-wise, this would be terrible. But this would really be the level you don't want to lose. This is kind of like that golden pocket on Bitcoin at 107 to 108K, right? It's the macro value area high. If I zoom out here, you guys can see this is the macro value area high from 2021, just like on Bitcoin here. Right, you get the breakout, the range retest. That doesn't look too bad, right? And it's the same thing on Ethereum, right? Bull market value area high, breakout, retest. That's really the big level that you want to hold. And I wouldn't even say breaking down below that would mean it's like all over, personally. But, I would just really prefer to hold on top of that level. Just like on Bitcoin, right? If we lose the golden pocket, it's not the end of the world, but it does greatly increase the chances, especially if the lower high comes in here and we come down to the 786. It does get it looks much more bearish in my opinion, especially with all that money flow coming out. So that's what I'm looking at on Ethereum. Key levels remain exactly the same. Taking a look at Solana, obviously we were looking at this yesterday. Looking for the potential top of this golden pocket to get hit. And why was that, right? Well, we had the, hey, where's our will it break level? Did we delete it? What the heck? Well, either way, we were looking for that bullish market structure to continue to put in a new high here. Not a new all-time high, but a new local high. And, this is based off just being above the value area low. Doorway to the POC and beyond is open. Very nice to see the push up here. We're now back above the POC. So right now, we could see resistance on this golden pocket. This whole zone is a major target between the POC and the top of the golden pocket, which sits between 225.58 and 216.51. So if we get little corrections here, it'd be very nice to hold this point of control. As long as you're above that point of control, well, guess what? The doorway to this monthly level at 231.61 is open, and potentially the move into the value area high sitting at about 248.38. And I do believe we have another level up here somewhere. Yeah, daily level here at about 238.25. So the next targets to the upside, key level of support is going to be the point of control, currently sitting at 216.90. Now, the points of controls, guys, oftentimes act as a magnet for price, right? So, like, it's not like an instant loss of this level is super bearish, right? You could potentially play around with this POC sometimes before finally getting above it. But just from a general perspective, holding above this POC keeps the doorway open to the next two targets, 231.61, and then this daily up here at 238.10. Once we get up there, right, you could still see a lot of turbulence, maybe some consolidation, maybe another dump. But overall, right, to fill this volume profile, I did this yesterday where we took off all the intermediary levels of resistance, right? We hid the golden pocket, right? You just look at this from a value area perspective. It's like, well, hey, once you get above the value area low, POC is next. Stay within the profile. The doorway to the POC is still open. And once you flip that POC, you could expect that eventual fulfill of the volume profile. It's be very, very nice to see. But it does not have to happen immediately. So we get a little cool off. Key level number 1, POC at 216.68. And then let me see. Do we have a confluence here on this golden pocket? That would be very nice, right? Just keep that higher low. Yeah, this would be very nice, right? So I'll mark this off as a zone. Key level of support. This is local, right? Sitting between the POC at 217. 216.79, right? And then the 786 sits at 213.71. So higher low, higher high to break that structure to the upside. Again, targeting that next target at the monthly, 231.61. So that would be local, right? But if we get down there and you're getting a fresh red dot to print, you're getting a fresh 16-hour red dot to print, I just don't know how likely it is to just bounce directly off that level. But locally, recently, I should say, right? You have your low, your high. Your higher low comes in on the golden pocket 786, right? You put the higher high in. Even here, right? Low, high, higher low, higher high, right? So just kind of that same thought process. If we could pull it from this low to the high, but locally from this like low time frame low to the high, that would be that golden pocket 786. And then underneath that, you would hope, right? Maybe you could hold this golden pocket or 786 sitting between. So I'll mark this off as well. So if you want to come and get some effery around on this POC, you know, golden pocket 786, a little bit of a bigger golden pocket 786 sitting between 209.39 and 204.84. This would be aggressively bullish and very nice to see. If you lose this, you could still go ahead and take this. Once you lose this level, yeah, you might be like on your way back down towards that value area low. So I would say worst case scenario to keep the bullish sentiment would be to, if you have to lose the POC, you would kind of want to see this happen, right? You continue to hold that trend line. That would be very nice. And then you just have to be aware of those local levels as well, right? Because if you're waiting down here for a long, right, you know, there's no guarantee that you have to come down to this Fibonacci retracement. But just looking at this chart, right, if we come down here, you get the fresh 16-hour red dot, maybe you have a fresh 4-hour red dot. At that point, it's like not going to look like a very good long position. I would rather wait for the bigger level anyway. Once you lose this, I think that's going to open up the door to potentially come down to the value area low. So, yeah, those would be the two big levels. And, again, take a look at the daily here. You know, daily VWAP still rolling over to the downside. Money flow still pretty healthily in the green. 12-hour red dot looking to print. We also just came up to major resistance, so it's not impossible to get cool-offs from these levels. Just keep that in mind, guys. But those would be the big levels to look at on Solana. Let's see. Solana, shout out to Harsh, said Solana's forming a rising wedge, which is bearish. I don't usually trade this pattern, but this and flag and pull works. Yeah, and that wouldn't surprise me, right? I mean, there's definitely, I see what you're looking at, right? You just kind of have your, yeah, somewhat of like a rising wedge, which is definitely there. But, I mean, you're hitting resistance, right? Good call. I just don't know if it's going to be a massive drop down. If it is, right, you know, value area low is still a major level of support. Even higher time frame, right? This value area low is still the biggest level on the chart right now. Because even if you have to get back down below the value area low, right, as long as you stay above this, right, you're just within your volume profile. And if you look at something like Ethereum, just to kind of explain this, right, back down here, it's like you get the push into the profile, you get above the POC, you start pushing up towards the value area high. But what happens, right? You're already way above this POC. Right? POC's down here. Price comes all the way up here. What happens? Price comes all the way back down and hits your value area low before finally continuing through the range. So just kind of show you how that could play out. Like, let's assume that the maybe that rising wedge does play out. Not something I typically look at, but if it did play out, right, like even if it was something like this, right, it doesn't really invalidate the longer term sentiment in my own personal opinion. I don't know what the technical target for this is, but we'll see what happens. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see correction here, not based off the rising wedge, but you have come into resistance. You have the VWAPs coming down. So that could definitely indicate downside, but it wouldn't be like a massive sign of weakness for me personally. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But the next major target, 231.61, and then the daily up there as well at 238.10. I would love to see that 238 daily tapped. And then maybe a bigger correction. But eventually, still, just understand. You're inside the volume profile. Doorway to the value area high is open. It's just a lot of times, just like looking at Ethereum, very oftentimes, like very confusing, scary journey, right? Everyone's like, oh my God, what happened? I thought, no one really said this, but I'm sure a lot of people think like, oh my God, what's happening? I thought we were inside the volume profile. I thought we were supposed to see the value area high. What happens? You don't break out and you do see that value area high. It won't play out 100% of the time, but more often than not, that's how I keep my confidence, when we see these drops to the downside. Number one, not only do we oftentimes look for those drops to the downside, I think we had like a 2-day bear div up here. Yeah, it was a 2-day bearish divergence, right? So you're like, okay, well, it's not going to be impossible to get some kind of a pullback. But why are you still anticipating higher lows and higher highs? Low, high, higher low, higher high. Why are you still anticipating that? Look at your money flow. Your money flow is coming up. So just to kind of give you guys an idea of how these volume profiles sometimes play out. They can be very confusing. But even like once you get above the POC, it's not like once you lose the POC, you have to go to zero, right? The context of the market is very, very important when it comes to that. So that's what I'll be looking at on Solana. Let's see. Pyth. Shout out to Shizzies and Giggies. Says we need Pyth or Piff, as some of you guys like to call it. So let me take some of these. I'm going to take a look at AVAX. Sui. Obviously, we won't get a chance to look at every single altcoin, but I will try my best to look at as much as I can. Shout out to Rabina, says Bitcoin will drop. I could guarantee you Bitcoin will drop. 100% that Bitcoin will go down again, guys. I love saying that at all-time highs. People are like, the bear market's here. I'm like, well, I don't know about the bear market, but I can guarantee you that Bitcoin will drop again. That is 100% certain. It will pump and it will dump again and again and again. Okay, so good old Pither or Pyther. All right, let's take a quick look at AVAX here. Okay, yeah, so AVAX, interesting. We looked at this yesterday, guys. I can take that Fibonacci retracement off the chart. I'm just going to hide this low volume gap for now. I'll pull this back up in a second. What did we talk about yesterday, guys? Massive resistance, right? Well, number one is just massive resistance, right? We hit our head, 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 and we're finally breaking through this very nice. But we've gotten inside the volume profile, which makes the POC the next stop, right? Which was very close to the value area low. And then once you get above that POC, where's price likely to go next? Well, it's probably going to seek out that next highest volume node. Where is that sitting? It is sitting right here. What happens when you get above that POC? Boop, right into the high volume node, where you could expect resistance. If you get rejected from here, where's the biggest key level down below? Well, it's going to be that point of control. As long as you keep that point of control as support, well, the doorway to the higher volume node is still open, and the roadmap, right, to the value area high remains open. And we talked about the low volume gap that we had here, where it was like, hey, guys, if you break above this level, right, if we crack above this resistance and start tapping into this low volume gap, well, hey, just like these high volume nodes like to have price stick to them, these low volume nodes or low volume gaps where we do not have a lot of volume is typically where we see price move very quickly through. Right? So we could say to ourselves, well, hey, if we could get accepted into this low volume gap, well, hey, maybe we could see that quick move back up, which in my opinion, you would target the top of this gap at about 34.03 and then flip that. If you can break out of that, right, you're going to target that next high volume node at about 35.93. And you don't even have to know that the low volume node is there, right? You could just look at this as like, well, Once you break above this POC, which is essentially the highest volume node within the profile, well, then we're going to go to the next high volume node, which you absolutely saw happen, right? You bing bong around these a little bit. Once you break above here, well, the next major target is going to be the next highest volume node at 3602. And the fact that we have that low volume gap there to assist us with that move is very nice. It doesn't mean that you can't reject out of here, right? I wish things were that 100%, right? I wish there was a thing that could say, oh my God, you're breaking into a low volume gap. There's 1,000% guarantee that you're going to go through here. You know, everybody would be rich if that was the case. But you could see sometimes you can get little fake outs here, back down, fake out, back down. Then you finally rip through it. So there is always going to be those intricacies in the market. But, you know, very nice to see us popping into this low volume gap. And you could even see, right, once you get in there, you do see price start to move very nicely, right? You get the pop off this volume node. Once you get in here, start cruising to the upside. Very, very nice to see. So yeah, I mean, this is nice because we looked at this yesterday and now we're just seeing what we wanted, or what you would hope for the move to the upside. Now, locally, you know, be careful. You got the 4-hour red dot, and just to kind of like look at this, right? You know, it's never just going to be like one minute candle that just teleports you back down. Sometimes it is, but you know, you can get little turbulence in here before continuing to fill the profile. Even if we go the last time we pushed up, right? You hit your head, you get back in. It is a little bit of a march at first, but eventually, you know, over time, it does look like a very fast move to the upside, right? There's like just not a lot of resistance there. You kind of just push right through it. So, you know, it doesn't mean just one giant green candle, but, you know, right now it is looking not too shabby here. Even if you have to kind of cool off a little bit, your hope is to stay inside this low volume gap and continue pushing through it. So we'll keep an eye on this. I'll even put an alert here. I'll just put an alert like right here. Letting us know. Come on. AVAX. Cooking the gap. Let's go. So now we'll have that alert set. And I'll just get that back on the chart, right? So we'll see what happens here. And this is what it always gets confusing, right? Because people think like, oh my God, if we're going to fill this really quick, maybe I just long right now. Well, when you start to look at these lower time frames, it's like, yeah, I don't know if it's going to be the best entry, right? Because if that red dot's going to pull you back, even if you're going to stay inside the gap, like why would you want to enter in at the top? You never want to enter in on the pops to the upside, right? As I say every single day. It's not just because you think you're going to continue up here doesn't mean that this exact moment is the right time to enter the trade. It's very important to remember. Let's see. All right, let's continue on. So that is AVAX. And again, this is generally going to follow, you know, Ethereum, right? If Ethereum gets the bigger pullback, right, obviously AVAX is going to follow. Other than that, right, there's nothing to really update here as far as market cipher B goes, because if Ethereum moves, this is going to move as well. Pyth, let's take a quick look at Pyth. All right. All right, so very nice to hold these Fibonacci extensions. This is old. I can take this off the chart. We can get this off the chart. I don't even know what this is. All right, so it seems that we have the high volume node here, which did end up sucking us up. And this can remain here just because that high volume node is not going to disappear just because we tapped it. It's not like an MPOC. Well, never mind. It is kind of like an MPOC, but it's not. I'll save you guys the explanation. But this high volume node is still here. So it still could act as a magnet potentially. Let's take a look at the daily here. Green dot printing. Let me check that 90-minute. So, yeah, I mean, next key level to the upside for Pyth is going to be the high volume node at 2159, right? And that's kind of the only thing that you have in your way from getting you to that value area low at 27 cents. And then this value area low at 27 cents is obviously where the excitement can finally come in again. Because when you look at your overall volume profile here, here is your area of balance. Here is your imbalance, right? So like you're looking at this as undervalued. If you can work your way back up here and get back into the fair value, well, hey, you have an opportunity, to come up and fill the rest of that range, which would be very nice to see. So I would say key level of support right now on Pyth is definitely going to be this value area high, sitting at 15 cents. You get sucked back under here, can't get out. Well, hey, guess what? POC and value area low is probably going to be next. If you can hold it, which is nice, we slipped it, we got back above, we're holding it as support as of right now. So as long as you can hold above that 15-cent level, right, you can look to march up towards that 2160 high volume node. And then once you flip this, you can look up towards that value area low at about 27 cents. See if I have any MPOCs here on the daily. Okay, I actually will mark this out because you do have a daily MPOC right here. Let's check the weekly MPOCs. Yeah, this is a daily and a weekly MPOC. And let's check the monthly. Don't give me a monthly there. Oh, man. All right. Well, you have a monthly MPOC just underneath that. So what I would say is keep in mind the high volume node is there, but I'm going to hide this for now just because this is a huge level. Daily, weekly, and monthly MPOC just above you there. And let me get the MPOCs off the chart real quick. So this is the biggest level to the upside right now. Sits between about 20 and, about 20 cents. 20 cents is a huge level. Could act as a magnet. I would say as long as you stay above 15 cents, this is the next target, right? 20 cents. Let's pull this fib real quick. Is there confluence here? Whoops. Not quite. Not quite. I could probably pull it from this lower high, though. Yeah. I don't want to try to, like, fabricate confluence here. I would say it's a little stronger if it was the full fib. It's not far off, but it's not perfectly confluent. So, actually, matter of fact, that high volume node is confluent. So, these are some levels I would look to the upside for Pyth. You have a little bit of work to do here. Once you break above the 786 at 22 cents, that's where I'd anticipate to come up here to 27. So, we'll see. You're kind of stuck here. Stay above 15 cents. Work your way up into these levels. You're probably going to get some chop, some resistance. Once you cross that 786, that's where I'd look up towards the value area low at 27 cents. Simply put. There we go. Let's see. Shout out to Aaron. Thank you for the super chat, bro. I appreciate you. Said, I listened to you whilst working with headphones, and when you're talking about zones on the charts, could you mention the price so I can follow along a bit easier? Shout out to Aaron. I will try my best. Usually I do, right? But yeah, I always try to say that because a lot of people say that, like, I'm listening while I'm driving. Can you call out the prices? I typically do. So daily, weekly, monthly MPOCs are sitting at 20 cents. High volume node / golden pocket is sitting between 20 and 21 cents. And then the doorway to get above in order to call for 27 cents is going to be 22 cents. Break 22 cents, we're looking at 27. And whether you want to look at this as a massive level of resistance or individual levels is going to really, be individual to the trader. But yeah, there you go. Don't want to break down below 15 cents is going to be your biggest level of support, right? Not just because it's support. It's because if you get stuck in here, you're now dealing with the laws of the volume profile to the downside to fill this entire range, which could bring you down to about 12.5 cents. But as long as you live above it, well, hey, target's above. So there you go. The if this, then that. If this holds, then these are next. If this breaks, well, then 13.5 and 12.5 cents are next. Simple. So there you go. Shout out to Aaron. Thank you for the super chat, bro. I appreciate you so much. Pengu. Oh, I forgot to write down Pengu. All right, let's take a look at Sui real quick. It's a crowd fave. Take a sip of the Giorgio Armani Aztecian Cactus Moss Water. Not sponsored, guys. I don't know what this is. Actually, I probably shouldn't be drinking this. A box just showed up with a bunch of energy drinks. I don't know who sent this to my house, but I'm drinking it. I'm just kidding. I think Mrs. Candle's got them. Actually, that might be even more dangerous than drinking a random drink. Drinking Mrs. Candle's energy drinks might be more dangerous than drinking random drinks that are sent to me from strangers. Because you can be pissed. It's the blue one, too. Blue, you guys know blue is always the best color, right? It's blue, then red, then everything else. All right, let's see. Pengu the penguin, Sui the pig. Shout out to New Earth Guardian. Can we look at Doge? Yeah, shout out to Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't even know if it says Rumnado Hustle. Shout out to you, man. Yeah, we can take a look at Doge. No problemo. SEI. Shout out to 12 Big wants to see SEI. I already have a long list of altcoins here. I know I'm not going to be able to get to them all, but I will try my best. What kind of scent? Shout out to Vegas Call. This has a... It smells like Kool-Aid, low-key. It smells like red Kool-Aid. ADA. Yeah, ADA's another one. I'll probably look at ADA first because I know a lot of people want to see Cardano. Cardano, one of the best communities out there, or strongest communities, I should say. I don't know if they're all good people, but let's take a look at Sui, guys. All right, let's see here. All right. So Sui still holding this golden pocket, which you know... I think this was one of those cases where we had the local golden pocket getting tapped, but we did not hit the full golden pocket. Yeah, we hit this local golden pocket for the bounce, but we had the full golden pocket sitting down here, which has now been tapped, I think. Yeah, has been tapped perfectly. It's the importance of having those key levels, guys. Like, it's not that you can't bounce off local levels, but when you have those full fibs, it just is more likely to come down there, in my opinion. So for SUI, this is nice, and I'll tell you why it's nice. You have the golden pocket pulled from the low to the high. Low, high. We're hoping, right? You would hope, if you hold SUI, for a higher low and a higher high, right? Which would really call for a break of structure to the upside and a hit of this value area high. The only thing I don't love about this, right? Sure, the low, high, higher low, higher high is open because this is an area to put in that lower high. But the only thing I don't love about this is the fact that you didn't fill the volume profile in full, right? So you always have to be aware that, the final target could be that value area low. And then if you deviate, you have the 786, right? Which would be very, very nice. And that would be kind of where you have to bounce if you don't want to break the low here at $22.30. So this would be the first place you'd look for the bounce. If this doesn't hold, this golden pocket doesn't hold, 100% between the value area low and the 786, between 290 and 275 is the last level to hold. And in my opinion, an easier long to take. It doesn't mean you can't take the long here. It doesn't mean it can't come up from here. It's just this is the higher probability long because you've already filled the whole profile. And then your anticipation, not only based off the Fibonacci retracement, but also the value area, is to go back to the POC, flip the POC, and go to the high. But as of right now, as long as you hold on top of this point of control, and it would be very nice to flip that anchored VWAP as well, well, then the doorway to the value area high is open. Once you break back down below the POC and lose this golden pocket, then you're just going to be looking down towards the value area low. So POC sits here at about 344. That is the biggest key level to hold right now. And again, the POC can act as a magnet for price. Right? I'll try to find an area where, like you can see here, you come up, you back down, back above, back below, back above, back below, and then you get back up and head up towards that value area high, which I can almost guarantee you if I extend this profile to the current price, right? Oh, no, never mind. Moved it further away. But still stands true, right? That POC can act as a magnet. Just because you lose it does not mean an instant drop down, especially when you have things like a golden pocket holding you up. So I would say, maybe chop around the POC, but as long as you can reclaim it, doorway to the value area high is open. And again, you also have the low, the high, the higher low, and the higher high kind of situation, the market structure pointing towards that as well. So there you go. Value area high sits at 437. That would be the next target to the upside. If you lose the POC in the golden pocket, I'm looking down towards 290 to 274. Money flow on the 16-hour is coming up. That is nice to see. Daily money flow is coming out, though, right? You can't ignore this, guys. Really can't ignore this. When I look at this, right, any bounces to the upside have to be looked at as lackluster for lower highs and lower lows, which would point towards that 786. So very, very choppy price action here. It's like this is not a place where I would look to trade SUI. Right? I wouldn't personally be interested in a trade unless I got in at that golden pocket at the low with a tight stop loss. I wouldn't be interested in trading this until we came back down here. But what if it comes up first? Well, then you missed that trade. It's totally fine, right? You just catch another trade, or you're probably holding another trade as well. So yeah, those are the biggest levels I'd be looking at. Money flow coming out just like on Bitcoin, so you still have to be careful about that. Let's take a look at ADA. All right, so yeah, ADA just still knocking on the door to doorway to higher prices here. Knocking on the door, trying to get in, right? Get above here, looking for the break of structure to the upside here, looking to crack $1.01 for the higher high on price. Money flow in the daily still coming out, right? So like long term, we still have to see all this money flow fake out, right? But when you look at something like the 3-day, right? This is the longer term kind of signal. Right, 3-day money flow crossover would indicate a longer-term trend to the upside, which doesn't mean you can't cool off, doesn't mean you can't get another drop down, but the overall continuation of the trend will continue up. But the actual level to break above and hold is 90 cents. If you can break above 90 cents and hold it, I'm at least looking for a break of structure to the upside at $1.02, and then at that point, right, as long as you remain within the range, right, so get above here, crack that high, as long as you stay within the range, right, door to the POC sitting at $1.21 is open. And then hopefully we could see the fill of that volume profile. It would be very, 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 very nice. This situation on Cardano and a lot of the altcoins is very similar to Bitcoin knocking on this door, right? Any altcoin that has 2021 price action, right? Whoops. Any altcoin that has 2021 price action, this is that 2021 range. This is the 2021 range. Right? Hit your head. Well, you actually got above and went straight to the POC here. We're kind of just hitting our head on this. Once you get accepted in there, right, the idea is to fill that volume profile in full. Forget what we looked at yesterday. It was something that we had not looked at in a very long time, and it had filled the volume profile perfectly. Does anybody, let me know if anybody remembers what we were looking at. But that's just the thought process, right? So it's like from a high time frame perspective, it's like, here's your bull market value area low. Once you get above this decisively, you're looking for that full fill of the range, just like we saw in Bitcoin. Break above it, up to the value area high. Break out of the value area high in the 786, that's your doorway to higher prices, or new all-time highs at that. So it's very similar on Cardano here from a high time frame standpoint, right? So I don't really see much value in going over, right? If I come back to Bitcoin, right? It's like, I'm not going to come into the 5 minute and look at these candles, right? Because like long term, I know a lot of people are like waiting for their altcoins to pump, and especially with all the macroeconomic environment that all the macroeconomic signals that we're seeing could lead to the fact that alt season is around the corner, maybe in the next month or two. It's just going to be looking at the higher time frame is going to be the best thing to look at, right? Because it's like, sure, maybe you get another drop down, right? But if your money flow is coming up, you're just looking for higher lows and higher highs anyway, right? So maybe you get a little chop, maybe a little confusion, but once you get in here, things can get cooking very quick. So when you look at Cardano, you know, hey, maybe we chop around, maybe we get another rejection, but it would be very nice to flip on top of that value area low to see the full fill of the range. And then once you get up here, well, hey, what are we going to approach? We're going to be approaching that macro 786, which is the doorway to new all-time highs. Break out of the value area, flip that 786, and then send it into new all-time highs. So we're tapping on the door here, guys. Can't stress that enough. And the only thing that kind of stinks here, right? 3-day, the reason I'm willing to anticipate another drop to the downside is because of your daily money flow. But the 3-day money flow is definitely indicating a continuation of the longer-term trend. So even if that daily money flow gives us a drop down, maybe we can do something like this, right? And then maybe you have a left shoulder, a head, and some kind of a wonky right shoulder, something like that, right? For those of you who want to look at the pattern. So yeah, and we got the green dot and the money flow crossover. Let's see if we can crack in here. If we do break down again, I will give you a key level to hold, right? I would personally not want to lose this golden pocket 786 Fibonacci retracement. Sitting between 70 and 61 cents. If we lose 61 cents, I'm looking to crack these lows, which is not what you want to see. But the daily money flow coming out could give you a little bit of a trend down here. Everyone's like, oh my God, it's all over, right? But if you don't know you're looking for the higher low and the higher high based off the higher time frame 3-day money flow, you're going to be bearish here, not bullish, right? So that would be kind of the line in the sand here. 786 at 61 cents. Lose this, it's going to be much more bearish. But until then, could just be chop and confusion until we could finally pop up on top of here and go to the POC. Hopefully, it happens sooner than later. Hard to say with the daily money flow coming out, though, to be quite honest. So there you go. There's Cardano. There's Dave Digital in the chat. What is going on, Dave? Welcome in. Would be nice to get a 1-hour bear div and trigger wave to the downside on Cardano. Let me know, Dave. Are you talking about Bitcoin? Let me know. Let me know. Something like this. Little 1-hour div out here on the value area low. Yeah, 1-hour money flow coming out as well. 16-hour red dot also looking to print here, right? So, yeah, would not be surprised if you get a little cool off there. If you get the 16-hour red dot. If you're going to look for a move to the downside here on Cardano, 16-hour red dot with the 1-hour money flow crossing into the red at the same time would be the thing I would look for. Dave says on BTC. Let's see here. Yeah, 1-hour bear div would be nice. Maybe into 114.5, which is the beginning of our bigger level of resistance. Get that little bearish divergence. Could be something to look for. Shout out to Dave Digital. I love it, bro. I love it. Welcome in. Thank you for being here. Only BTC. Shout out to Dave Digital. Yeah, we don't want the altcoins to go down anymore, Dave. A lot of OGs here today. Shout out to John Vucci. Welcome in, Oest of Gs. Welcome in. Always happy to have the OGs. I wish we could give, like, badges to OGs in the chat. You can get a badge here, but it's based off your interaction in the chat. We don't control it. Let's see. Shout out to Woody. Said, Frankie, with all the time frames disagreeing with each other, a lot of contradictions from daily money flow in the red, 3-day money flow in the green, 12 and 16-hour in the red, 10 and 8-hour in the green. How do you choose which time frame to build a bias? Shout out to Woody. I think the best way to do this, and I totally feel this, bro, 100%. And I love that you're able to see these contradictions, right? It's like daily money flow comes into the red, right? So what's my bias there? Well, it's like any rip to the upside has to be looked at as a potential lower high and lower low, right? And it's not until you break above the 786 that invalidates, right? Which is sitting all the way up here at $120,800. So until we get above that 786, if this money flow is coming out, you have to be aware of those lower highs and lower lows. 16-hour money flow is coming into the green, though, right? So that's definitely contradicting, right? And I'm just going to look at Bitcoin here, right? So 3-day money flow is coming up, right? So super, super confusing. I've been talking about this, how market cipher is a bit chopped up just because of the choppy price action we have here on Bitcoin. It's not that market cipher is a bad indicator. It doesn't work anymore. It's just when you're in these choppy price, when you have this choppy price action, it's typically not the, it doesn't give you the clearest signal. So the thing that I would look at, right, at least looking at something like Cardano, this 3-day money flow is going to be the bigger thing to look at, in my opinion, right? That daily money flow coming out could indicate a little bit more of a drop, but how deep can we go here for a higher low and higher high? Well, I would say about 61 cents. And this would not really necessarily invalidate this money flow on the 3-day. Maybe it comes back into the red. But I personally am watching this 3-day money flow because the 3-day money flows are typically very, very key indications for the altcoins. And I've shown this many a times on other altcoins like Ethereum, Solana, all that stuff, right? These 3-day money flow crossovers are typically signs that you're going to continue up. You always got to trust in the higher time frames, right? Even the 4-hour money flow is like still in the red here, but it's not like it's a fresh crossover, right? 5-day, fresh crossover. Yeah, it's just like money flow is so chopped up here. 6-day fat in the green, weekly coming in the green as well. I would say this is still an early money flow crossover for the weekly, all right? If we're going to see alt season come in, this weekly money flow would probably wind up being a pretty big green wave. So, a way to alleviate the noise is usually just to stick to the higher time frames. And then usually the next question I get from people is like, well, then how do I know what trade to take? Sometimes the best trade is no trade. If you do not have if I don't have clear signals, right? If I have just like a bunch of choppy mixed signals, usually more often than not, I'm sitting out of that trade because I'm not here to take trades just for the sake of taking trades. I'm here to take trades to make money. And I'm only going to make money on the trades for the most part that are higher probability with clear confirmations, with clear entry triggers, with clear confluence pointing in one direction. So it's hard, right? Because like when I look at Bitcoin, my general bias based off the cycle is that, as long as we hold above 107 and 108K, we can see new all-time highs. But when you look at the daily, it's like kind of stepping on that, right? At least until it flips back. And honestly, more than the daily, it's the 2-day that's a little bit concerning here for me. So I just play it by ear, right? Or play it level to level, right? If we come up here and we put in a lower high and money flow is coming out, then I just have to stick with the bias that the lower high and the lower low is the higher probability. If we come up here and money flow is starting to crack back into the green on the daily, right? And then the money flow is starting on the 2-day is starting to kick back up in a very big way, right? We don't just want like a little kick up, right? We want a big pop to the upside. Then we can say to ourselves, well, hey, maybe this is a fake out, right? But at the end of the day, right, I think the simple answer to the question is sometimes the market is just hard to read, regardless of how good the TA is, right, or how good the indicator is. And I think a lot of people have a hard time accepting that, right? It's like, but like now, how do I figure this out? Like sometimes you just got to sit on your hands, right? Especially, hopefully I show by example here, like within this chop, other than the long position, the clear long position that we took in here in the premium with all of our confirmations getting hit on that key level of support, right? I'm long from the tippy low here. And I don't just say that, right? Like I'm not in from the dollar low, but I'm in here, what is this? 0.5% off the absolute tippy low, right? But it's because we had a lot of confluence, we had a lot of confirmations and a strong level of support here. But in here, not a lot of trades to take. We took a couple scalps in the premium that played out to TP1, but it's just like for the most part, we're kind of just sitting here waiting for those bigger levels. And like the last few times I've gone live, I've talked about how like, guys, I am sitting on my hands for the bigger trades. I'm either waiting to come up here or waiting to come down here. Not much action in here, right? And you could just see by the price action, super choppy, right? And what does that mean? That means that your money flow is also going to be very choppy, right? Which just makes it low probability trading. So what do? I just sit in my long from the low and just let it play out, right? And I'm just chopping up the account within this just nasty price action. So yeah, it is, always going to be better to go to the higher time frames to indicate that bias because the higher the time frame, the less noise there is. But I would argue even here, right, like 4-day is coming out, 3-day is coming up, like definitely chopped up on this money flow. But again, it's the key levels, right? It doesn't matter. Like if we lose this golden pocket, it's like, yikes. Like even if money flow is spiking on the 4-day, right, or spiking on the 3-day, right, but coming out on the 2-day, if we lose this level, that is bearish regardless. Like if I was not looking at market cipher at all, right, this would be bearish to lose this level in my opinion. So yeah, it's just kind of hard sometimes. I think it's like the simple answer is like sometimes you're just not going to know exactly what's going to happen, and that's totally fine, right? That's the market that we're trading. Shout out to Wick589 said, whew, thought I missed y'all, but luckily for me, it's a short stream. Shout out to Wick589. Yeah, short stream, guys, short stream every day. We don't go long. We don't stream longer than about 30 minutes a day. I don't think I've ever done a live stream longer than like 40 minutes. I think it's like my record for a long stream. Yo, shout out to Turgay says he knows the monster move is coming. Shout out to Turgay. I hope so. As long as we hold above that golden pocket, I would say, let's get in here, work up to the value area high. Hopefully we don't get the lower high and the lower low. That would be mega bearish in my opinion. But if we can get up there, get above the POC, especially that 115K level, crack out of here. Let's see that final parabola come in. And I always like to prepare everybody, guys. I wish I could just come up here and be like, we break out, guys, 200K, 300K, 500K incoming. I just think this is going to be that last blow off top, and all the retail's going to come in. Where does retail come in? At the tippity top, right? And maybe even on the first breakout, right? Maybe we start to crack the all-time high. New all-time high. Oh, my God, guys, this is it. This is it. And then retail will start to buy in on the move up, and they think they're going to $1 million. Meanwhile, they don't understand this bull market has been cooking for quite some time. And I'm talking about Bitcoin specifically, right? I'm not expecting, if we had alt season, I'm not expecting like one more last little parabola here and then a bear market, right? The altcoins are a little bit different, but on Bitcoin, they're going to start getting really exciting, calling for never down again, perma bull market. This time is different, and this time is a little bit different. Yes, I would agree with that, but it does not mean a new bear market is not going to come in. It's not just understand that. When you see everybody going crazy and everything feels good and you feel those warm butterflies, just understand it is typically at the end of the cycle when you see that, right? So if we do put in a new all-time high, I am looking at this as the end of the Bitcoin bull market. And kind of the start of alt season, but remember alt season is typically very short-lived, right? It's like everything moons, and then it's lights out very quickly. It's just like everything goes parabolic, and then it's all over before we know it. And then that's where everyone's saying, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. Those are not the dips that I'm going to buy. The dips I buy are the ones that nobody wants to buy. To be clear, I did not buy these dips because I bought at the bottom of the bear market. Not the tippy bottom, about 20, 21,000, right? But it's these bottoms. Oh, my God, bear market. That's the dip you buy. Oh, my God, it's all over. That's the dip you buy. Oh, my God, right? When you get up here and people are saying buy the dip, it's never going back down, that is the dip you don't want to buy. We just don't want to struggle in here. If we struggle in here with money flow coming out, it's just from a binary perspective going to be bearish, at least for Bitcoin. That could be the situation where we see a lower high, a lower low, and then on the retracements, we see alt season happen, right? It might be a lackluster bull market for the altcoins, but it is possible to see the alt season come in after the top is already in on Bitcoin. This is the least preferred scenario. The preferred scenario would be work up here, finish out the parabola, and then have the altcoins run with that, right? But the other option, as we covered yesterday, is that the lower high comes in, the top is in on Bitcoin, and then on the retracements, the altcoins rally. I don't prefer that, right? But it has happened before. So there you go. Shout out to Nirvana, said bear market buy-in, gang. Hey, I will tell you, if you guys want to buy the bottom of the bear market, I will tell you this. At least it has worked every single time, at least for me. Bitcoin's weekly money flow. That weekly money flow crosses into the red. That is where you start to dollar cost average in. Typically, I like to let the first drop happen. Once that money flow comes out, you're like, all right, let me chill. A big dump is probably coming, right? You would have had to wait a few weeks here, right? But you get that big drop. That's where you want to start buying. 2021, weekly money flow crosses over into the red. You didn't even really have to wait, but eventually you get the big drop, and then that's where you can start dollar cost averaging in, right? That is like a foolproof way to make sure you're not buying an overvalued Bitcoin every single time. Money flow crossover to the red, big old drop. That is typically the bottom. And then there's usually a long-term consolidation, a very boring long-term consolidation, right? You have plenty of time to buy in there. But what is the sentiment down here? The sentiment is everything's going to zero. The sentiment is everything going to zero. The sentiment is everything's going to zero. Regulation, bubble has popped, right? The sentiment is very hard to buy down here. Anytime I've ever bought a bottom, I felt like a moron. I was like, oh my God, there's no way I'm going to be, everyone thinks it's dead. It's very hard, right? Emotionally, it's very hard. But when you've been through the cycles, when you know the TA, when you see the weekly bearish divergences, it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's worked every single time so far. So chances are, if you're buying when money flows in the red, it is much better than buying in, like a lot of the retail will do, at all-time highs, literally the most expensive Bitcoin has ever been, after weekly money flow has been in the green for, come on, 812 days. Right? The time to buy was when it was in the red. We've already enjoyed that massive rip to the upside. The weekly money flow crossover indicates the overall trend continues up. But everyone, most people, most retail will come in here and buy it. I was looking at the search term analytics for Bitcoin, guys. It's brutal right now. Nobody cares. Like, no one cares right now. No one's here. Retail's not here. Nobody cares. I think most people, I don't even think the sentiment is super bearish right now. I just think it's like people are fed up. It's like they don't trust the pumps. They just, especially on altcoins, it's like everyone's just sick of it. Everyone's like, I want to walk away. But we'll keep you guys updated here because we'll see what the rate cuts do. Maybe on Wednesday, we'll see those rate cuts come in, and maybe it'll start that pump. I hope so. That'd be very nice to see. Shout out to Dave Digital, said Frankie already leaked the sauce. We're looking at 14,500 to consider that short. Yeah, well, shout out to Dave Digital. There you go. That's where I will be looking. Does not mean that, and again, if you're new here, if you've never traded before, you're just going to open up an account and trade, does not mean tap 14.5 in short, right? You have to have some kind of a reason to take that position, right? Like if we came down to this key level of support on Bitcoin, and I know Dave knows this, I just want to make sure anybody who's new here understands that. When we came down here to this key level of support, if we did not see any confirmations, which we actually saw confirmations early, and then we looked for another confirmation here on this low to be made on the 4-hour. If we did not see that, right, like we would not have the same context, right? If we come down here and things look like trash, we would sit it out and wait for the next level. So if we get up here and we get those confirmations, I will look to take the short. And who knows? You might get the confirmations and the short might not play out, right? You have to manage the risk. You have to limit your losses. But just to be clear, right, it's not tap 114.5 short. I know Dave knows that, but I know everyone might not. We'll have to be looking for those confirmations, which we look for in the premium Discord. So we'll see what happens. Real quick, let's take a look at Pengu. I've been kind of edging people on Pengu here. All right, yeah, I mean, you're above the POC. Next target to the upside, I'll keep it nice and simple. 0.038918. Almost 4 cents at the value area high, right? Just shy of 4 cents. You went from the high back into the range. You couldn't break out. Next stop is the POC. You lose the POC. Next stop is the value area high. Bounce off the value area low. I think I said value area high. Bounce off the value area low. Doorway to the POC is open. Back down to the low. Back to the POC. Didn't get the full rotation here, unfortunately, but you did wind up holding the value area low. So I would say based off the volume profile here, you're holding key support. You're above the next key level of resistance, right? It's flipped into support. So as long as you stay above about 0.032897, this would be looked at as doorway to the value area high is open. And again, I can't promise you that if you lose this POC, you might not come back down to retest the value area low. This is the line in the sand, right? Whether your next stop is going to be the value area high or not. As long as you're above this, the door to the value area high is open. Once you lose it, right, and because it's the POC and price does stick to it sometimes, right, you get the drop down, you're below it, you're above it, you're below it, you're above it, you're below it, and then you see the value area low. But why would I not be freaking out about, oh my God, we're bouncing off the POC, right? Well, if you look at your higher time frame money flow, I can almost guarantee it was in the red. Let's look at something like the 10-hour. 10-hour money flow is in the red. 12-hour money flow has just crossed over into the red. So you're already looking at the laws of the volume profile. Lose the high, next likely place for price to go is the POC. Well, how do I know if it's going to get the full rotation or not? Well, the simple answer is you don't know, right? But you can make an educated assumption on the higher probability being that the highest probability is that you're going to get the rotation of the range anyway, right? So unless you had something pointing against, with the money flow coming out, it would agree with you. Any bounce is going to be lackluster for a lower high and a lower low, which would target that value area low. So it's not just the laws of the volume profile. It's also combining it with money flow. Money flow is pointing in the direction to the value area low, and the fact that you're expecting that rotation also makes a lot of sense. If you had come down to this POC and you have massive money flow, if money flow was looking much different where you're in a big red wave crossing into the green here on the 12-hour, well, then maybe you can look for a higher low and a higher high. So I would say from a high time frame perspective, let me take a look at the daily money flow. Yeah, like daily money flow is coming out, but I bet your 3-day is coming up. Yeah, 3-day money flow is in the green. Yeah, hard to call. I mean, again, money flow very chopped up right now. I would just say stay above the POC. Even if you chop around it, it'd be like, oh my God, we're below it, we're above it, we're below it, we're above it. But if that 3-day money flow stays in the green, the overall anticipation is to fulfill the range. Go from the high to the POC to the low. Faked out, back to the low. I would still say that is the most that would be the highest probability situation. And even if you lose the POC in a dramatic way like we did on Ethereum, right, you can come back down as long as you hold above the value area low at 0.0289, right, you're still within your profile. It's not until you lose this value area low where I'd say, yikes, you're probably coming down much lower. So you're just within your profile. You know, the idea here would be full rotation to the low, full rotation to the high. So there you go. Value area high at 0.0389, POC at 0.0328, value area low at 0.0288. So there you go. That's what I'd look at. Again, not a place where I would look to trade Pengu, right? At the end of the day, right, where do you want to take the trades? You want to take the trades at the value area low and the value area high. Any trade within the POC, unless you're like more advanced, like I will take a trade in the middle of the POC, but I have a full understanding of what I'm looking at. But, you know, for the most part, even here, when you don't get the full rotation to the low right away, you deviate above the high, you're going to be much better off looking for shorts to at least the POC. Right? Shorts to at least the POC, with the higher probability being the full fill of the range. But when you take these trades, right, when you take a short position above the value area high, sure, the final target can be the value area low, but once you get to that POC, you're taking money off the table. That's a 15% move to the downside. If you're not locking in money after a 15% drop to the downside, that is a human error. Right? Not a setup error, not a TA error. Like, that's just a human error. You have to be taking profits. And if you take profits there and move your stop loss to break even, right? Even if it comes back up and stops you out, you're still winning that trade, right? And then if you go back down to the value area low, cool. You can continue to get paid out. And you can take another take profit down here, keep your stop loss at break even, move your stop loss into profit. And then if price decides to really drop down, well, cool. You're still holding a portion of your trade from the high. And if it comes up and stops you out, you're still winning the trade. It's the only way to get into a guaranteed winning position. So yeah, I would say, like, I wouldn't be looking to trade Pengu up here. It's either, you know, if you weren't long in the value area low on these high time frame bullish divergences into the value area low, why would you take a long down here? Well, you have daily bullish divergences into the value area low. Chances are you're going to get some kind of a bounce there, even if it is just to the POC before breaking down. I don't like taking positions in the middle of the range. It's lower probability. Shorts up here, longs down here. Anything in the middle is definitely more sus. So there you go. There's Pengu. Shout out to Boat Money. Said, hey, Frankie, the 15-minute with the 4-hour looks so likely. Do you think there's a move down from here because of that signal? Shout out to Boat Money. Yes. So when it comes to the 4-hour, 15-minute, I'll pull it up on Bitcoin here. I mean, listen, I like the $115,000 level of resistance a bit more. But like we talked about in the beginning of the stream, and Boat Money, if you just tuned in, make sure you scrub back to the beginning of the stream because I explain exactly what to look for here. Number one, right, is this going to be a failed auction, which is essentially losing this anchored VWAP. If we come back down below this anchored VWAP and you have the 4-hour red dot, this is part of the reason why I'm anticipating this to potentially be the case. 4-hour red dot is looking like it wants to come in. You also have a technical 4-hour bearish divergence forming, at least as of right now. If we push up again, maybe that gets invalidated. But if that red dot prints like this, that's a 4-hour bearish divergence. And then if you start losing this key level at about 113.4, between 113.4 and 113.250, well, number one, you have the 4-hour with the 15-minute money flow potentially coming out, which it looks like it wants to, right? If we're going to get the drop down, that's what I would look at. 15-minute money flow crossover with the 4-hour red dot. And then once you lose this anchored VWAP, well, now you have, on top of that bearish confirmation, you also have the failed auction coming in on the loss of that anchored VWAP and a 4-hour, 15-minute bearish setup. So that is what I would look for, right? You lose this support with a bearish setup on the 4-hour, probably going to get at least some kind of drop to the downside. And even talked about the local levels I'll look to hold if we get that drop down. But yes, you're definitely seeing that correct. We do have that setup potentially popping up. And I would just, once you lose 113.250, I would say likelihood of a correction down is probably going to be high probability. So yeah, although if we push up, this is a much better level of resistance. Very, very early sign of strength to stay above here, but the real sign of strength is getting above here, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. Yo, shout out to Golden4 gifting the Frankie Candles membership. We got one Frankie Candles membership gifted. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Shout out to Golden4. Is that a Golden imposter, or is that Golden's 4th alt account because he keeps getting banned on YouTube because they're trying to stop him from gifting memberships to the CandleMafia? Golden4 said, and here we go. Shout out to Golden. Man, UFC gets me hyped up. It's time! Shout out to Mrs. Candles. Mrs. Candles is probably rolling her eyes if she can hear me, which I'm sure she can, whether she's in the building or not. Yo, shout out to Giggle Longbottom. Said, high probability, or am I just probably high? Shout out to Giggle Longbottom. It might be. a little mixture of both. They're trying to ban me. It is Golden, I think. Shout out to Golden. Golden 4. Shout out to Danish, says, AVAX, please. We actually already looked at AVAX. If you take a look, scrub back a little bit, we already took a look at AVAX. Give you all the sauce on there and the next targets to the upside and the key levels of support. Let's see. Get ready to rumble. Shut up the full melt, Mike. Yo, Bruce Buffer and his brother are maybe one of the most legendary people to ever live. I love those guys. And Bruce Buffer's a savage. I saw some interview with him, and he got into, like, a fight in an elevator, like, while he was at work. And I'm like, he's a savage. I don't know if he used to be a fighter or not, but those guys are legends, man. Absolute legends. I don't know how people don't get fired up when they hear them scream. And he does the little jump. Introducing first. Oh, my God. What a great time. SEI. Shout out to 12 Big. We'll take a look at SEI real quick. All right. Oh, we're on the wrong template. All right. Let's take a look here. Man, I wish there was a way to, like, remember what we looked at. Because I don't know what this is. I don't know what any of this really means. Probably just narrating what had happened in the past. All right, so let's take a look here. So still just sideways, right? And I wish, I had more to talk about, guys, but, like, all this stuff is just going sideways. And, oftentimes when I say that, people are like, what do you mean we're ripping? And it's like, not really, right? Like, sure, you're ripping if you look at a lower time frame. It's like, oh, my God, we're pumping, right? But this is not an explosion to the upside. This is simply just bing-bong activity. So I would still say, like, next big level to the upside here would not be this fib, but it would be this fib. So, yeah, I would potentially look at, you do have your 12-hour money flow crossing into the green. Daily money flow is flat. 2-day money flow is in the red. Your 3-day money flow, yeah, I would still say this 3-day money flow. Like, it's just impossible to narrate through this choppy money flow, right? But I would just say overall, you've had a nice red wave here on the 2-day. Eventually, if you can get this to sustain in the green, which it might be time to do that, right? We've already spent a bunch of time in the red. This is kind of the thing to look for. It's like, see this 3-day money flow continue back up for a continuation to the upside. But I would say your next biggest level to get above, and honestly your doorway to break into this value area low and push up towards the POC at 45 cents is getting above the 786 at 34 cents. It's the full golden pocket from the high to the low. Right? We've already held the 786. Look at the 786. This 786 is just like holding that, like, oh my, it's like shaking. It's like crazy. So you have the pull from the low to the high. This is where you look for the higher low for a potential higher high to come. But you got to fight this fib. So I would say next big level of resistance is between the golden pocket 786, between 32 and 34 cents. Once you get above 34 cents, you have an opportunity to then say, hey, maybe, just maybe, we have the low, the higher low, and the higher high. But you got to get above that 786. And then at that point, I would say the higher high is likely. You can get above that value area low and push above these highs. And then if you could hold that value area low, look for the continuation up to the POC at 45 cents. That's what I would look for. Other than that, like, I don't want to get too deep into money flow. 12-hour money flow coming up pretty nicely. 10-hour money flow coming up pretty nicely. Hang on one second here, guys. Please hold. Please hold. Oh, my God. I didn't tell you guys my dad. I went to go to my niece's birthday party, and my dad was there, and my dad got a GSP puppy. It's so cute. You have no idea. It's a German short hair puppy. They're one of the cutest puppies you could possibly have. It was amazing. It was like the highlight of my life. It's the 1/16th of the 10-hour. Can somebody do the math faster than AI? Go! Somebody put it in the chat. Shout out to Moonlit. Says, Frankie, I got a lot of moolah on XRP. How's it looking on Market Cypher? I'll take a look at XRP in a second. Shout out to Golden4. Thank you for the super chat, bro. He said, I might have to ease this account in. Yeah, shout out to Golden. Just he's going to sneak in there with the fourth alt. Why is YouTube trying to hold us back? Unbelievable. Sandra says, my audio is cutting out. Is anybody else hearing the audio cut out? Please let me know. Looks good over here. I don't know. Hopefully this wire is not going bad. I'll have to get another one. This one's actually been alive for a while. Usually they break. I touch the mic a lot, which bends the wire, and sometimes it cuts out my audio. Yeah, so it's the weekly. That's what I was going to say. So let's see. I mean, your weekly green dot's looking to print. It's not quite there just yet. 10-hour money flow crossing into the green. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, at the end of the day, wake me up when we break the doorway to higher prices. Because at the end of the day, you could come back up here and get the rejection, right? It's like this could be choppy until we get above here, right? And I wish I had more to update, but it's just like tomorrow we'll come in, and if we're here, like there's just still nothing to update, right? It's like we need some kind of move here. It has been absolutely brutal. The only other thing I could kind of bring up here is if I just hide some of this stuff. Right? The only other thing I can really bring up is maybe you can look at this as a range, which still brings you up to the value area high or value area low as key resistance, right? So it's like, here's your deviation below the low, back in, POC, value area high, deviation above, get in, POC, value area low, bullish divergences, probably back to the value area high. So that's kind of what I would look at. And if I pull this range again with everything on the chart, look at that. It's confluent with the 786. This is the level to get above. 34 cents. You can get above 34, 35 cents. That's where you'll have an opportunity to either crack structure to the upside or just come in here and continue to range around. But that is the key level to break, at least on SEI. Shout out to Netty Neck says, you sound perfect. Hot candle wax dripping directly into my dome piece. Shout out to Netty Wreck. Shout out to Sandra said, Crypto Billy and Full Melt Mike, thank you. That fixed it. What the heck was the problem? It's fixed now, Frankie. Interesting. So was there a problem? Interesting. Okay. Audio hasn't cut out yet. Yeah. I don't know. Was there like a setting? Did you have it on like chopped audio setting? What the heck could they have changed to make that better? All right. So let's take a quick look at Dogecoin. So yeah, again, right? Just like not much here. Still got the Willow break level up here at about 28 cents. Why do I look at this? Well, we have the Fibonacci retracement, low, high, higher, low. As long as you can stay above this anchored VWAP, the doorway to break that structure to the upside is open. Could still see turbulence on the POC, but still biggest level up here is the POC at 26 cents. Other than that, you're within your volume profile. This could get choppy as long as you stay inside this range. POC and value area high, doorway is open. And with the low, the high, the higher low, if we can hold this, right, you could anticipate that break of structure to the upside, in which case we'd be above the POC, which could push you into the value area high closer to about 37 cents, 38 cents up here. But we're just waiting for things to move here, guys. Like, we just need bigger moves. And again, is this a place where I would look to trade Dogecoin? Not really. We're kind of floating in the middle of nowhere here. Now, if I were looking at this on a lower time frame as we were approaching this value area low, this is where I would look for the longs. Because even if you're not going to come up and break this structure to the upside, well, you could have still capitalized on a nice 16% move to the upside. But if I had to look for a trade up here locally, it would have to be a short. Not because I'm bearish, but just because this is resistance. So I would just be sitting out of this position. Right? Like, this is not a place where I would trade Dogecoin. Unless you're like in from the tippy low below the value area low of the macro range, or you're in from a long on the local value area low. Like, the only thing you could look for up here is a short. Doesn't mean that you should take a short, right? Does the chart look good for a short? I personally wouldn't say so. You have 4-hour money flow coming up. You got a fresh green dot printing. It's a no trade zone. So it's just long-term, sit on your hands and wait for your next key levels to get hit. All right? There's no confluence up here either. It's just the local value area high. Be much more bearish, in my opinion, if we could push into the POC. Not bearish, but it'd be a much better level to look for a short off of, even if you're looking for a little scalp. Be much bigger level to look for a local trade. I would never look for like a massive short off this POC. Why? Because value area lows down here, POC's been tapped. Eventually, you could cool off, but, you're still looking for that full fill of the volume profile, hopefully. So that's what I look at on Dogecoin. Take a look at the 3-day money flow real quick, right? Even on Dogecoin, 3-day money flow's in the green. So, yeah, it still doesn't look super, super bad. But all it takes is one dump on Bitcoin, one dump on Ethereum for this stuff to follow. Shout out to Golden. Thank you for the super chat, brother. He says, oh, wow, they want me to upload a Gov ID for my new account. Okay, let's play, YouTube. I got some ID. Which country? Lol. Shout out to Golden, bro. Golden's got multiple residencies. He lives in, when you live on a private jet, really, where are you a resident of? You're flying above every country. Shout out to Golden. Let's go, baby. Shout out to Netty Rex says, the market is probably ranging, not knowing what stop losses to hunt. As in, all my trades today, I took a long and a short to see which plays out. Confused the shiz out of me, or confused the shiz out of the algorithm. Shout out to Netty Neck. Come on, keep trading. Confuse them, and then lure them to the upside. They had to reload the stream. Shout out to Jesse. The simple turn it off and turn it back on. Let's see. I had the same issue. Shout out to Jesse. Interesting. Well, now I know. I'm just going to tell people to reload the stream. Stop. And I'll trick you guys. But anyway. Yo, Golden. But yeah, guys, or better don't because you're wealthy or government wants tax. Shout out to Jesse. Any thoughts on MYX? I have scratching my head concerns. Shout out to Genius. Yeah, I was looking at this before. Again, we looked at this yesterday. There's not much I can do with this, right? We pulled up the key levels yesterday. There's not a lot we can do with this, if I'm being totally honest. It's just like, from a high time frame perspective, there's like these are the only levels I can have on the chart from a high time frame perspective. Other than that, it's like this thing's got to create some kind of a structure. I can come down to a lower time frame. You could pull the volume profile here, maybe. It's not even the prettiest. I'll give you the local range. Just keep in mind, like, this might not be the best time to be. I would not. If anything, I'd have to be looking for either a local long entry after a retracement, which in my opinion, right, your volume profile, you have a value area high at 1808, POC sitting at 1735, and then your value area low sitting at 1341. So maybe if you come back down, deviate below the profile, you can look for potential bounces off that level. But, money flow coming out here on the 45-minute. Let's check the 12-hour. 12-hour red dot's already confirmed. You have a red dot printing, so I'm going to check that 90-minute money flow. So I think if you're going to get a correction here, I'd look for that daily red dot to print with your 90-minute money flow crossover into the red. Only thing I could kind of guess here is, like, maybe you can get an SFP of the highs. Maybe you rotate the profile again, sweep the highs, and then you come on down for a bigger correction. But, this is the only range we can really look at here. But, even here, right, I would say, like, your trades were probably going to be had within this range, right, at the lows for the long. And then you're chilling in your long position. So these are the only local levels I can look at here on MYX. You could screenshot these and get them on your chart. I wouldn't really be interested in, especially after this massive move to the upside. It's not that you can't just put in a micro lower, higher low for another higher high, but, this is just, I don't know. I think longing this gets more dangerous and more dangerous the higher you go up. So these are some local levels I would look at. You got your 786 golden pocket. Golden pocket's confluent with the value area low. So maybe if you got something like this, could look for longs. And then if you come above, maybe look for sweeps of the high for an acceptance back into your range and a push to the downside. But until then, I would not touch this with a 10-foot pole. Even here, right, like this could be even that, right? Like your 90-minute money flow is coming out with a daily red dot at that point, right? You could just continue the downtrend. So I would have to look at this as the price action develops. But these would be your local levels. Golden pocket, value area low between 1358 and 1288. 786 sitting at 1170, 1169. right? Once you lose this, well, then maybe you can go down and cook a little deeper down towards your macro golden pocket at about 770, right? So I can say that, right? Lose the 786 at 1166, probably coming down to that golden pocket. So there you go. But you do have the 90-minute money flow starting to cool off with a red dot finally coming in here on the daily. So I would just be careful with longs up here, right? Because it's just like, I mean, if you're looking for longs, you've missed the move to the upside, right? Even if it continues up, right? Like you'd have to find a local retracement and get in as price is dumping. And to be honest, just from like a general standpoint, like if you're chasing this, right? Like this thing is up since August, since the 1st of August, right? This thing's up 20,000%. This is not what you want to chase. I'm not saying it can't go higher, right? But it's like a lot of people, this is FOMO, right? If you're looking to buy here, it's FOMO. And I don't want to make it sound like you can't go higher here, right? But even here, right? It's like if you're looking to long up here, it's probably not the best time to long. Not to say you can't go higher, but you want to wait for a correction so you can actually take long positions as price is pushing down and then enjoy that move up. There's no reality that exists where I'd be buying into this right now. It's just like the simplest, most, newbie trap ever, as far as just like buying at the wrong time. But it doesn't mean that you can't cool off, go back down here, and then maybe you get another move up. So yeah, just very difficult to do TA on a chart like this. I would just be careful because it's up 20,000%. But yeah, we'll see what's Bitcoin doing here. Yeah, just kind of wiggling around. So there you go, guys. Key level of support, 113,250 to 113,4. If we break down below that level, I think we are looking at a little bit of weakness on Bitcoin for a bigger drop to the downside. And by bigger drop down, guys, I just mean coming back down into this profile, right? We have the 4-hour red dot looking to print. Once you lose this zone, get inside the profile, you might be able to get that bigger drop down. But if we hold this, right, we could just look at this as a resistance support flip, right, which could be nice. So like that is the big zone that you don't want to lose. You lose this, then we could probably come down, especially with the 4-hour, 15-minute setup. But until then, we've broken above it, and we are attempting to hold it as support. And I am holding the long position, and I will continue to do so. And I'm probably going to take some profit off this as well. So we'll see what happens. But I will keep you guys updated here as the price action develops. Shout out to Dutch. He said, you laughed it away. She doesn't feel comfortable. Wifey made it clear. I don't even know what you guys were talking about. But Servando said, I did, but I'll check, Jesse. Just broke through 114K. Dang it! Shout out to Jay. But yeah, shout out to Genie says, thank you, Frankie. No problemo, bro. I wish I can give you more sauce on MYX, but that chart is just, that thing's going crazy right now. But with all that being said, that's all the time I got for tonight's live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I appreciate every single one of you guys for hanging out with us here till the end of the stream. And I pray that we get a move on Bitcoin here so we can get some excitement and something to actually talk about here on the charts. But until then, hey, I guess I'll just root for the push to the upside here because I'm already in the long position. But might come on live tomorrow and be in that short position. But you guys know that key level that we're looking to lose between 113.4 and 113.250. As long as we hold above that, we're looking up towards 115K. But with all that being said, that's all the time we got for tonight's live stream. Shout out to Daniel. Shout out to Jedi Skirk. Shout out to John. Shout out to Crypto Billy. Shout out to Cigar Itachi. Shout out to Wick's wife, Fine89. Welcome in. Shout out to Wick 589, Erica, Jay Doolin. And last but not least, Jesse and Keely. That's all I got for today, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Same place, same time. Right here, 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right on the Frank Candles YouTube channel. That's all I got. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong!
Look what's next for me, Joe. I'm gonna get that second bell. Where the f*** is it? They should have had them 2 bells ready. Spit shine for me.
Yeah. Head up in the clouds, though they saying I look stressed. I've been feeling down, pray to God that I'm up next. Remember when she blew me off, that's why I can't text. Now she call me petty, but I swear I can't forget. This ain't a test. Now they saying that I ball like Jerry West. Coming back for what is mine, can't take no less. I said go and take a shot, so I need your best. And stop the threats, don't know what is in me. I don't got time, I'm not giving the energy. Too many people around me, I'm finicky. I do not mess with you, dog, you're not kidding me. You don't got way too close. I been up at the top now, so they all wait for the landslide. I seen too many people that switched up, who's man's high. Through it all, I stay the same. I swear to God, I can't lie. Been down so damn low that I came up for my life. They talk way too much on the internet, it's not real life. I swear my fam waiting, I can't lose, and I'm still right. Still right. I swear that I'm working them up till like midnight. It's real life. I got a time and I'm coming to get mine. In time, I cannot lose, and I'm coming right inside. I'm in mine, yeah.
Shout out to Panda the Prophet said, I'll see y'all in the soup line. Yo, Panda, our manager at McDonald's is kind of a D-bag, isn't he? He's all high and mighty because he's the manager of a McDonald's. But yeah, shout out to Panda the Prophet. I'm actually headed to the soup line with Mrs. Candles right now. So we'll see you there, bro. That's all I got. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming on my landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like, yeah, you about to see me on demand like, you know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go. Yeah, at the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go. Yeah, at the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go.